Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Pounce Bootcamp for your brain. We're just gonna give it a couple of minutes just to let a few more people kind of join the call, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Alrighty, guys, it's almost 12:02, and I want to make sure we have enough time to get through the awesome content that we've put together for you. But before I do, I think it's really important. I know everyone's kind of had like a busy morning. People have had kids doing multiple different things. So why don't everybody just take 1 second and just stand up for me? Everybody just stand up. And now all I want you to do is just shake it. Shake and just let loose, people. Let loose.
You're not going to see me then if I'm shaking.
I know you can't really see my face, but I want everyone just to let it go. Let whatever is in your day out and just relax and have a bit of fun. There we go.
That's a Taylor Swift thing. Shake
Love
it
it.
off.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining the Pounce Bootcamp for your brain. It's so nice to see some familiar faces in the audience and some new people I haven't met just yet. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Sim, and I'm the CEO and founder of Pounce Marketing. So a little bit about Pounce. We're a full service marketing agency, and we deliver marketing solutions that poke, prod, and produce killer results for all our clients. But today, it's really not about us. Today, it's all about you guys, and it's about the community. Given this entire lockdown, things have kind of changed for everybody in some shape or form. Everyone's kind of been impacted by it, whether it be good, whether it be bad. But, you know, what we're trying to do is really support the community and help us get through this challenging times. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We're going to be recording this session because we want to make sure that for those that aren't able to attend the session today, they're able to kind of view it on demand. Secondly, we're going to be making sure that we take all your questions at the end of the presentation because we want to make sure that we have enough time to get through all the content. So if you've got any questions, just happily type it in the Q&A box and I'll make sure I get to it at the end. So with that, what are we going to be talking to you guys about today? Well, we've got a few key things that we want you to walk away with today and really help you wash away that lockdown blues. So our beautiful Dr. Kim is going to be helping us with training your mental fitness, giving you some keystone habits that you can kind of implement in your life. And my favorite one is the brain optimization hacks, and then also showing you guys how to transcend your motivation. And you know me, I'm a talker, so I obviously want to have a little bit of chat with you at the end, Dr. Kim. So we'll save some time at the end for some questions. And Dr. Kim is not only a dear friend, but she's an amazing, amazing clinical psychologist and peak performance coach. And she helps a lot of her clients be limitless in a world of boundaries. So when I met Dr. Kim, I asked her once, I'm like, so I'm still a bit confused in terms of what you do. And the best way she described it is, for those of you who have watched the show Billions, Dr. Kim is very much similar to Wendy in Billions. And, she really helps people bring out their A game and be the best versions of themselves. So with that, Dr. Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Sim. That is a wonderful introduction. I'm always a big fan of underselling and overperforming, but you've really given me such a great introduction. I will try my hardest to live up to that. Yes, today is all about you. So I would encourage you right now, if you can't sit, actually brilliant, that's fine. Just put the audio on and have a listen. If you can, have it stacked. Get yourself out into the lovely fresh air today, depending on where you are, of course, but right now it seems beautiful outside. So go and get those steps in and listen to this this video today. And you'll also be able to get the recording, which would be great. So what I'm going to talk about today is mental fitness. Now, this is a term that we don't really hear very often, but it's a wonderful term, and I love the analogy to physical fitness. So what I get people to do is really think of their mental fitness the same as their physical fitness. For example, let's say you wanted to do the city to surf
I know at the moment it is going to be virtual this year again. However, you're going to think, okay, I want to train for this. You get yourself a buddy, you start training, you end up doing the City to Surf, and then you are really at your optimal fitness. You've been training every day. Now, if you wanted to keep that fitness and keep sustaining that physical fitness, you would keep having to train every day. You would have to change it up, do some cross training and things like that. So you're going to have to keep at it every day to sustain and to keep that optimal fitness. Now, your brain, your neuropsychology is exactly the same. So what I'm going to be doing today is utilizing my 20 years of experience doing this wonderful coaching, which I absolutely adore, and looking at ways we can utilize our neuropsychology. I've been able to develop what I think are the 3 pillars on how to become and sustain your mental fitness. Now, I've called it ACT for 2 reasons. One is that it stands for ACT, and I'll teach you about those, but also ACT is a verb. It's a doing word, as I say to my 11-year-old. It's a verb we need to do every day. So something about this is all about how you act mentally fit. So what I'm going to do is teach you, firstly, it's A. It is activating powerful habits. So that is something I'm so passionate about. And I know that Sim has been looking at atomic habits. I have so many of my clients as well that love atomic habits. But what it is looking at powerful habits you can activate, often very small habits, every single day. At the same time, to become mentally fit, we also need to start recognizing what sabotaging habits we have that we do every day that are really impacting on our optimal performance and our fitness. So what we need to do is get those powerful habits started and start to let go of those sabotaging habits. I'll get into more of that in a second. The next thing, of course, is cognitive optimization. And I love the fact that it just sounds a bit fancy, really, but at the end of the day, we're looking at things like what we can do with our mindset and how we can improve our cognitive health. Interestingly, our brain is one of the organs that we can't transplant. So we need to really invest a lot of time and effort and look at the science behind how we can optimize our brain. That's an area I'm so passionate about. It's actually an area that I've done my research on and recently published, all about training your brain. So this is something that I want to give you 3 powerful hacks that you can utilize. I call them quick wins. Why? Because you can get going on them today. You don't need to, it doesn't take very long to learn them, and you can actually activate them today. And the last one is super important, of course, as well. Do you sometimes notice your motivation at the moment is a little bit low? I get a lot of clients that say to me, Kim, I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling the energy. And sometimes in Australia, we say mojo. Of course, mojo means something very different in Britain. But at the end of the day, it is our mojo. It's like something that we need to tap into. So we're going to teach you a way to tap into an endless source of motivation. And that's going to be super exciting to share that with you. Okay, let's get started. And how do we hack into our neuropsychology? So neuropsychology is a wonderful way to understand the interaction between our brain and our cognitions. So our cognitions are our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors. So that's what it is. It's our interaction between our brain and our cognitions. Now, what is really wonderful is we have these natural ways of getting energy. So they're neurotransmitters and hormones, not only in the brain, actually also in our gut, which is very fascinating. Now we've been able to realize what's going on. Dopamine is one of my favorite, of course. A lot of people love dopamine. It's an awesome neurotransmitter. It's a very feel-good hormone. There are ways to get dopamine that are very good for you. So exercise would be one of them. And there are also ways we get dopamine that aren't so helpful to us. Processed foods and sugar, gambling, things like that. We also get dopamine. But basically, it is our reward system in our brain.
I'm going to teach you ways to hack your own source of dopamine. The next one, of course, is serotonin. Not as exciting as dopamine, but serotonin actually gives us more sustained. It's a great sustained energy, sorry. It's a great neurotransmitter that you can tap into. It's a wonderful source of being able to feel energized and feeling on top of the world if you can tap into the serotonin. Now, fun fact is now we know that our serotonin is actually our neurotransmitters. We have the majority of them in our gut. So what we eat and our gut health is so important, has a huge impact on our mood. So I'm going to also talk about that as well today. Oxytocin. Now, a lot of us are very oxytocin deprived. It's what we call the love hormone. So basically, it promotes trust, empathy. It's how we bond in a relationship. Now, an interesting fact, of course, is to get oxytocin is through physical touch as well. So if you want to get some oxytocin right now, I would encourage you to physically, if you can, of course, COVID safe, if you can physically give somebody a hug. Now it takes around 30 seconds to release the oxytocin. So it's got to be a nice, great, warm hug. You can also get it from hugging or patting a pet. So it doesn't have to be somebody. There are actually some tree huggers out there that swear, and I'm not sure about the science with this, but hugging trees apparently can reduce oxytocin. Like I said, I haven't read the science. I'm not a huge tree hugger myself, but there are some fans that get the release of oxytocin that way. So that is oxytocin. I'll also teach you other ways that you can use that wonderful hormone. Endorphins, of course, and I saw Rax doing that this morning with his dog, getting his endorphins through his exercise. Endorphins is our body's a natural pain reliever. So we do need to have endorphins. It does help us. Not only does it help us with physical pain, there is some evidence it helps us with emotional pain as well. So this is something you can tap into. Of course, exercise is an awesome way to help us get endorphins. Okay, so let's start using this neuropsychology, and I'm now going to teach you the 5 powerful habits you can do every day. Now, the first habit, and I know people are going to be going, oh, no, not sleep. We keep hearing that sleep's so important. Really? Is it really important? And I go, yes, 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 yes. Why? Because sleep has it's one of the things that really impacts our mental fitness and our mental health. So, you know, when you just haven't had enough sleep, you wake up feeling groggy, you feel tired, you feel like very pessimistic you feel overwhelmed, and that's the sort of thing that can happen. So the good thing is, though, when we get optimal sleep and really good sleep health in a very routine way, we start finding that we become more energized, more motivated. Now, there's certain things we can do to promote good sleep health. One of them is to avoid, actually, you know what? I'm going to start with what actually sabotages our sleep, because that is kind of the thing that you want to know about. So the number one thing that probably sabotages our sleep for most of us is using digital devices. So try not to use anything that you get blue light from, because it does have an impact on our sleep. So if you can, try and be digital device free up to 2 hours before you go to sleep. Also, try and do every single day, go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time every day. I encourage my clients to have something like a hot shower or a hot bath about an hour before sleeping. What it does is it elevates your internal core temperature, and then you go and try and sleep in a very cool room. Around 17 degrees is very helpful, which is easy right now in winter. So when we go to sleep, our core temperature then starts to lower, which replicates our circadian rhythms. It's time, tells our brain it is time to go to sleep. So that's a very good hack you can do. The other thing, of course, as a sabotaging habit is alcohol. Unfortunately, more than 2 units will impact your deep sleep. So your REM sleep that you might have heard about, and it impacts the quality of your sleep. So that's something we need to do, is promote really good sleep. So if you're going to have any alcohol, remember, more than 2 units will have an impact on the quality of your sleep, which will impact you the next day. The other things we can definitely do about sleep is just, of course, keep to a really good routine. Now, this is a really fun fact, and I've been doing this actually with my daughter who's doing her HSC trials. Actually, right today, she's actually got maths going on, so it's using up a bit of bandwidth. So I'm really sorry if this video is not as good as it could be, but if it's not, just stick with the audio and then we'll get through this together. So basically what I've been able to do is to say, look, with memory is a wonderful thing, but what a lot of people do is they sacrifice sleep trying to learn and do more things. Now, the one thing you can do with sleep is if you get a magic 7 to 8 hours, what actually happens is all the things you've learned during the day, it starts to, you encode it more and you solidified it in your sleep. So the thing is, actually, it's not much point learning all these things during the day and then at nighttime trying to have only about 4 or 5 hours sleep, because what's going to happen is going to have a serious impact on your memory the next day. So the best thing you can actually do is just get a really good night's sleep. You will actually remember more and work better and have better focus and concentration the next day with just getting more sleep. So that's a top tip anyone studying right now as well. Now, exercise. This is honestly, you can get so many endorphins and neurotransmitters from exercise. We get dopamine, we get serotonin, and if you exercise with somebody else, of course, you get the oxytocin rush as well. So this is, you get a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to giving you neurotransmitters. Exercise also has a huge impact on our performance of our brain. So if you, I don't know if many of you, but I know with a lot of my clients, they get a little bit of a slump in the afternoon. I can see Sim nodding there. So that afternoon slump, what you can actually do is you can hack your neuropsychology. So what you do is you get some exercise at lunchtime. So anyone right now unable to do exercise, like I would encourage you, put this on audio, go for a walk, you'll get your steps in. What actually happens if you do get some cardiovascular exercise, it increases your testosterone, also increases your performance. So your ability to concentrate for 2 hours up to after exercising, it actually doubles your ability to focus. So that's a great tip if you're really struggling and you're thinking, oh, I'm just having that bit of brain fog. Get outside, get some exercise, or even do it inside. You can do push-ups, anything you need to do. Of course, I'm not a medical doctor, so please make sure you talk to your doctor about that. So exercise is one of those things I would encourage you to get in every day. I'm actually going to talk about how to motivate yourself to do exercise later. But again, it's incremental things when it comes to habits. Do something small and do it often. It takes 60 days to automate a habit. Now, that is really, often people say, wow, that's a long time. But the thing is, what we want to do is we want to make it fun and we want to make it small. So often I've been known to get clients to go to sleep in their exercise kit. So the next morning they wake up, there's no decision fatigue. They don't have to decide if they're exercising or not. They're already in their gym kit. All they need to do is roll out of bed, put their sneakers on, and out they go. So it's one of those things, make it really easy to access. Also, please, please, please make it fun. So many people I know, they say, oh, I really want to do this, or I need to do this. I need to do more exercise. And then they start with something that is really boring. And I'm like, well, no wonder you're not doing it, you're not motivated. So just make it fun. Make it fun to begin with, just to make it a habit. Once you make it a habit and it's automated, then you can up the exertion or whatever you're doing with your exercise. So again, make it fun is the key. Okay, so what I really want to do today is talk about working from home and looking at healthy habits we can do working from home, because this will be something that you can implement right now. The number one thing I always say to people is do not multitask. Multitasking, when it comes to neuropsychology, is basically just doing every task badly. It doesn't exist. You cannot perform at an optimal level doing multiple things. Our brain doesn't work like that. Stick to one task. I love the Pomodoro technique. It's 25 minutes on, one task, and then 5 minutes off. I set the timer, and then I focus for 25 minutes, and then I complete the task. Then I have a 5-minute brain break, and that might be like the little dance we did. I love a good dance break as well, Sim. So something like that, maybe a breathing exercise, maybe going and just checking in on my dog or something to that extent, just to give your brain a break, especially from digital work. So that's one thing to do. Don't multitask. The other thing, though, you can do is definitely create an environment that sort of like fake it till you make it with your brain. So pretend you are actually going to work. Start with a little commute. Get yourself dressed as you would going to work, because it tricks your brain, thinking your brain says, oh, okay, I'm working now. Now, if you're sitting there in your pajamas, it's going to be very, very confusing for your brain. You won't know what it's supposed to be doing. So get yourself dressed, do what you normally do. Routine is the key. So set up a habit, do that normal commute you might do to get your morning coffee, say hello to a few neighbors, commute back to home, set up your workstation and get going. And then at the end of the day, do the exact opposite. So pack everything away. You do not want those things sitting there like your laptop open and your books out or anything to do with work. Close it away. Pick a time, set a boundary, close it away. And then what you do is go and get changed like you would. You might want to change into exercise kit or change into your non-working clothes. So the way to say to your brain, it's time to switch off. This is time, we've done our work, and this is how we do it. So that's a really healthy way to create a better environment and to trick your brain. So the other thing as well is I'd love to do things like habit stacking. So when you're doing something like this, you can habit stack it with walking. Other times, I am obsessed at the moment with Audible. I now go through 2 or 3 books a week, which I never really used to do before lockdown last year. And so what I do is use any excuse to get out of the house with the multiple children that are here and go and actually listen to a book or call a friend and exercise at the same time with the dog often. So it is about habit stacking, doing fun things at the same time. The other thing, you can listen to a book, something motivational while you're cooking dinner or helping, working from home, or while maybe helping with homeschooling. So it's all about, sometimes it's important to habit stack, at other times dedicate specific times to do just one task. Okay, so the other thing people often mention is digital fatigue. So digital fatigue is when we have a problem with being able to switch off and we're getting like social media fatigue, digital fatigue. It's that brain fog that everyone seems to be feeling right now. So I'm going to teach you a method. It's very simple. It's called time, Time. So you specifically set a time. Again, I'm happy. I love my 25 minutes. The I stands for intention. So your intention might be to read through your emails to make an action list. That's it. You then be mindful. So you only do that task. You don't think about 10 other tasks that need to be going on. You stick with that task. Then it actually also has to be enriching. Try and make it enjoyable. Try and put some lovely music on that's helpful to make the act or whatever task you're doing enriching. And that's it, time. So make sure you're doing that whenever you're using any digital device. The last thing, of course, is healthy relationships. And a lot of us are struggling with not having that connection with people. So we have to try extra hard to communicate with other people that we're not seeing. So when we're working, especially with other people, be very clear in your expectation, and also check in with people. Sometimes an email or a text doesn't always come across the right way. So if you can do a very quick Zoom and just check in with them, see how they're going. And it's important that now often also check in with your community, with the other people in your family or other people in your area. Keep connected as much as you can, if not more than you were doing before. So that's really important. Keep those relationships healthy, and it really promotes a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get into the brain health, Tim, because that's my favorite thing to talk about. I know you've been excited about this, reframing. I did have a client say to me that you seem to be able to reframe anything, Kim, and I take that with a lot of pride. I've spent a long time working on my reframing. It takes a minute to learn, a lifetime to master, so keep at it. It just takes a while, but once you get a few tricks, you can reframe anything. At the moment, we have a lot of losses going on. So those losses are really important to us. It might be a loss in social friendships. It might be a loss in job opportunities or anything really. And we have to grieve those losses. So it's important to validate it and to recognize what losses there are. At the same time as validating those losses, it would be great to look at a way that what have we gained? Create meaning through that loss. I know that sounds a little bit unusual for a lot of people. For example, I've stopped doing workshops in real space. Real space, it sounds like a funny term, isn't it? But seeing people in reality, in real life. So workshops I love, because I love be able to interact with people and see their faces. At the moment, I've got lovely Sim's smiling face at me, which is great, but I really do love to see all the other faces in a group. However, what I've been able to do, that is a loss. However, now I've been able to improve my ability to do video conferencing and actually get my message and actually help a lot more people out there, so virtually. So that's been a wonderful gain, which I wouldn't have probably have done if it wasn't for lockdown. So remember, think of something that you've lost, and what else have you actually gained through this experience? How have you grown through this experience? It'll really help you, and to do this every single day. The next one, of course, is mastering emotions with breathing, mindfulness, and gratitude. They're my 3 favorite things to do to tap into every day. The breathing is so important. You can actually use your breath to motivate you. You can actually, which is your sympathetic nervous system, you can actually use your breath to do the opposite, and it's to relax you. So actually, I'll give you the top tip. It's so simple with breathing. If you want to relax yourself, if you're finding yourself getting a little stressed, all you need to do is breathe out for 1 count more than you breathe in. So that will relax your parasympathetic nervous system, and you will start to, after about 20 breaths, you will start to feel the benefits going through your whole body. So I would encourage you, if you're finding time, to spend 5 minutes outside or any time that's peaceful away from digital devices, and give yourself permission to have some very deep and relaxing breaths. The other thing, of course, is mindfulness, which is really just a simple term. It's being in the moment and looking at all the different senses that we have. You can do that when you're eating. You can do that out in nature. It's a wonderful thing. It's very grounding and great for your brain. It's any mental holiday, I call it. The other thing is gratitude. What gratitude does is it helps us get a different perspective on our day. So when exactly we were doing that reframing before, so looking at a loss and then being grateful for the things that we have, the things that we might have gained. Gratitude is all about perspective. Sometimes it's very hard, I know, to get perspective, but we can always find 3 things that we're grateful for. I do that a lot actually with my children. In fact, at dinner time, I always say, what are we grateful for today? And they roll their eyes, but they know that this is something that is training their brain to give them a good perspective, and it does actually work. And of course, my top 10 brain foods. So you're in luck, everyone. Dark chocolate is in there. I know Sim has already had some today.
Yes.
And if you can get maybe blueberry covered dark chocolate, that would be better. I love the way you can combine a lot of these things. At the moment, we're doing a lot organic poached eggs on avocado with smashed avocado. I make that often for the kids at the moment because they love it. It's a great brain food. It's a really good one that sustains them, especially through exams. So it gives them all that sort of brain food that they need. So they're your top 5. Walnuts, of course, very easy to have a couple of walnuts at your desk so you can sort of nibble on things like that. And so all you need to do, try and inject 3, 4, even 5 brain foods in a day. The great thing is it's all about variety, and leafy greens, of course, gives you lots of variety as well. So good luck with that. Now, the last one we're going to look at is basically, yes, I like that. Yes, walnuts do look like the brain. And I love that joke. It's definitely something, when you're looking at a walnut, it does look like a mini brain. So thank you for that comment. So the last point is to looking at something that I know a lot of you have been saying to me, oh, Kim, my mojo, my motivation, I just can't tap into it at the moment. It's feeling I'm feeling flat, and I just can't have that same spark that I used to have. So, and I get it. It is really hard. Motivation actually comes and goes. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they wait for motivation before they act. And what I get them to do is to realize that's not the way our brain works. So we need to act first, and then our motivation comes second. Now, the other thing about motivation, it is variable, but what we want to do is we want to tap into something deeper. And that's what I call an internal driver. It is your why. It is your direction. It is what you want to do. So when you're tapping into your why, and actually, as the best phrase I've ever heard is, a good enough why will overcome any how. So that's really important to know. If you want to know how to exercise, look at your why. Why do you want to exercise? So a lot of people say to me, oh, I need to exercise. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, stop. You know what? So many people are telling us what we need to do. We need to wear masks. We need to stay 1.5 meters apart. Don't, whatever you do, tell your brain something else you need to do. Your brain's just going to go, you know what? I'm not listening. So what you actually can do is reframe it. So whatever you think you might have said need to do, change it to, what do you want to do? Okay, so instead of saying I need to exercise, you say I want to get fit. I want to run the city to surf, and I want to rock a bikini in summer when we finally open up and get to go on a holiday. So think about what it is you want to do. It might be completely, and it will be completely different to somebody else's want and somebody else's why. Why is it important to you? That will motivate you, not what you should do or need to do. The other thing I get people to do is identify their core values. Your core values is when you look forward, and it's the direction you take every day. At the moment, one of my core values is instilling energy into the day. So what I do is make sure every day I think about that. That's where I'm heading, energy into the house, because I know when we have positive energy, we have a lot more of a growth mindset. So that's the energy that I'm trying to, that's my true north right now. It's not a destination. So therefore you can turn your compass towards your true north any minute that you decide.
The other last thing, of course, is getting a perspective, all about talking about the why. If you're really struggling to get some perspective or to tap into what your why is, I would encourage you to get out there and start asking other people. And this leads into some wonderful inspirational books I've looked at to look at their particular why. So whys can be anything. Often it's people have overcome something that's incredibly challenging in their life and how they've created meaning from that challenge. And a lot of people, these are some of my books. Of course, there's so many more. Again, a lot of them had struggles and that they overcome. Of course, in there is your Atomic Habits, and the last one is the Man's Search for Meaning. And Viktor Frankl was the one that actually did say that a good enough why can overcome any how. So I think I can wrap it up there, Sim. That should be the end of something, and very inspirational too, definitely to me, because I've read all the books.
Well, I have to say, Kim, after I saw your presentation slides, I already put an order in for some of these books, and I know they just arrived yesterday. So I think I've got some light reading ahead of me this weekend, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So with that, Kim, like, I think, you know, you've delivered such an amazing presentation and you've touched on a few key points. But what I really want to take this time to do is just have a quick chat to you on a few of the things that I thought stood out. So firstly, you mentioned that, we need to try to motivate ourselves. But I think, what we're noticing, especially for me as a business owner as well, is that all our teams are either interstate or, they're in a different country, for example. But how can we actually motivate our team?
That, great question, actually. And I didn't touch on it, and I think it's a really good thing to answer here. Motivating your team starts with you. So when you're motivated, it's kind of contagious. So give your team permission to do these hacks, to make sure that they exercise, to make sure that they know their why, so they can habit stack. Make sure that it's something that you role model. Okay, so I know every day, even just at home, I'm trying to role model being motivated, having energy. So I'm promoting good sleep, finishing work at very good times and switching off, having quality time for self-care. And so that's a good way to role model to your team. The other thing, of course, is inject some fun. Everyone is so deficient of dopamine and a lot of these neurotransmitters at the moment. So anything you can do to inject some fun, and I think there is a little bit of fun coming at the end of this presentation from Rax. So let's see how that goes. But it's just about injecting fun into your day. I know that sometimes I've got a client at the moment, and at Microsoft, they're doing this fun company competition where they all count the minutes of exercising, and as a team, a Sydney team, they compete with all the other teams around the world. And it's sort of like a little mini Olympics, but just for exercise time. So again, it makes it fun, makes it enjoyable. It's a very team bonding exercise. So if you can, when you can, get some fun back into people, into the day. That way, like I said, when everyone's having more fun, they are definitely have a growth mindset, and they start becoming more excited about doing what they're doing and definitely more motivated.
I love that, Kim, but I think it also touches on a really interesting point as well. There's only so much we can really do, but what happens, or what can we do if we know someone that is struggling a little bit? Like, how would we even approach that conversation?
Yes, and I'm actually glad you brought this in, Sim, because I think it's really important. And as well, not only being peak performance coach, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I take this really seriously. Mental health is often, suicide especially, one of the number one silent killers really of especially for men in the 20s and 30s. So what we need to do is really make sure people do reach out. So when you ask somebody, are you okay, make sure you know what to do with that information. And what I would encourage you to do is just to encourage them, if you're not sure how to support them, encourage them to get
professional help. So even just to check in with your GP, clinical psych, normal psych, anything just to get some professional help, because it really is important that people know that the services are out there at the moment. There's wonderful telehealth. Now Medicare gives you 20 sessions. A lot of companies have wonderful EAP programs so they can access this support if they need it. And it's just role modeling to them. Now, if you're able, and I know some people aren't, but if you're able, you might want to even personally disclose a time that you reached out to help, get help, I mean. So that way it role models to the person that it's okay to get help. And that can sometimes really start the conversation going. A lot of people just don't realize it. So sometimes some personal disclosure can really, some selective disclosure can really help them feel like this is a very normal experience to have, and that there are people out there that can support them.
Oh, thanks, Kim. And I think just for everyone to note as well, towards the end of this presentation deck, we will be sharing Kim's details as well, so you all can reach out to Kim if you ever need any support. Kim, I don't have any kids, but I've been talking to you for a while. I know you've got kids and you work full time. So how do you juggle the whole balance of like homeschooling plus keeping the kids entertained and working a full-time job?
Well, I think it's, you know what, I actually call it an extreme sport because I'm juggling. I've got 3 different practices at the moment. I have 3 children at 3 different schools. So they're at, and they're about actually 3 years apart. There's a lot of 3s there, but basically there's a lot going on at in this house. Today we are competing for bandwidth, and because my daughter is doing her, I think it's maths, her HSC trial today. So it's kind of a very good way. I'm not only talking about this from the science, but I'm actually doing it. So I can feel people's pain whenever they reach out to me and ask about those questions. The number one thing I do is a mindset thing. I actually halve my expectations, and some days I halve them again, because at the end of the day, it's so hard to achieve what you were originally trying to achieve 2 years ago and what you're achieving now. So the best thing to do is just keep on reducing your expectations of what can get done in the day. And the other thing I do a lot is I just say, if you do anything, inject some fun into the day. Kids are so resilient and they often learn by osmosis. Like you can really play a game of Monopoly and teach maths. You can bake something and teach a lot of science. So there is so many ways that you can actually help them to learn. And what they need to learn to have a growth mindset is a lot of fun. What you really want to do is give them some memory of this event, like it being a really huge fun pajama party that went on for 2 years. So when they look back of it in 5-10 years time and they tell other people about their experience, they're going to be the kid that says, oh yeah, we just had this pajama, what pandemic, we just had a pajama party and it was awesome. And you know what, then they won't end up coming to see me for therapy. I tell you, all you need to do is inject some fun into their day, because then they'll just think about this as being a great experience. They'll love learning, and just throw out the expectations out the window and just enjoy the day, the moment. Of course, it's easier said than done. I've had times that I've had to really breathe and just go, especially at the moment, I have my lounge room. It's effectively a dance studio. There is no lounge room anymore because my daughter is trying to do her auditions to send away to universities. Anyway, so I walk past it and I just go, namaste. It's just, it's only a moment. It's a moment in time. And you know what? Actually, what I could do, we are not a huge dancer like that, not like her, but of course I could then do a Pilates class or something, because it's effectively a dance studio. So I've actually done that before. I've got the yoga something out, like an app. something on YouTube, and I thought, you know what, I'll utilize this dance studio in my lounge room, and I've done something that is a lot of fun. So you know what, there is ways to doing it, but again, it starts with the mind. Start with your mindset.
Oh, I love that, Kim. So I know I can just sit here and I can pick your brains for hours, but I'm also mindful that we've got quite a lot of questions from the audience as well. So if anyone hasn't put your questions in and you want us to go through it, I'm going to go through it now. So the first question is, you've mentioned that we can have some alcohol before we go to bed, but not too much. What type of alcohol would you recommend?
I love this. So, to be honest, try not to have it too close to bed. So because that does have more of an impact on your sleep. There is not much science over the type of alcohol. There's a little bit of evidence to say that things like red wine is better for your brain. So yes, I would probably go into quality over quantity. That would be my from a science point of view, go quality over quantity. Also give yourself a chance to have some alcohol-free days. It's just very good to make sure you keep your brain from having some time to have some time off alcohol. So, but anyway, if you can look, moderation is the key with anything when it comes to mental health, especially, and sort of peak performance. So if you can try and do things in moderation, that will really benefit you.
Thank you. So
that's a great question. I've never had that one before.
So the next question we've got is, how do we change our approach to selling during a breakdown, given the significant challenges of being prevented from creating an in-person connection with a new client prospect you've never met before?
Wow, that's a really good one. So selling, I think the best thing about selling is definitely tapping into what it is that you're providing. So if it's providing a service or a need, it is actually speaking to often a loss or a pain that that person might have. So when it comes to psychology, is really all selling is really about psychology. So think about what opportunities that you are actually giving that person by selling what you're actually selling to them. So of course, it could be selling them something that helps with, might be something to do with yoga mats or something like that. And of course, that then you can definitely reach into self-care and talk about how that's beneficial for them. It might be a way you could sell something to them that gives them some more free time, so they can delegate it off to somebody else. And that's something else that everyone at the moment, some people are really starved for free time, myself included. So anything I can get, I can buy that gives me more time to have self-care would be helpful. So anyway, tap into the psychology. Think about what you're actually giving them, what you're selling to them, and how that actually is benefiting them during these times. There is always a way, but whatever you do, don't invalidate the loss. Definitely talk about the loss. It is important, and there are opportunities to grow at the same time.
Perfect. And I think we've got time for one more question. So the question is, I'm currently working from home and I have a lot of competing priorities, but my challenge is that I struggle to switch off from work. How can I switch off?
Yes, and that is a very common thing that people do, is they do struggle to switch off. Again, go back into the creating the environment, establishing a commute, so that third space, so you really can, your brain then knows it's time to switch off. Also have just a normal pad next to you, a journal when you go to bed at night. A lot of people, I do a lot of work with people with worries. So what I do is I say, okay, when you have a worry that goes into your head, I then write it down. I just say I have a 2 action list and a 2 solve list. because they're quite different parts of your brain. So if it's a 2 action thing, I then just write in the 2 action list, like, oh, you might say, oh, I have to send an email to that person about X. So that's a 2 action. If it's a 2 solve thing, because that's what we often do, we get stuck and we ruminate and we worry about how to do something. Just put it in the 2 solve list and then have a dedicated time every day, a creative time every day that you action all the 2 solve things. And the best thing about having a 2 solve list is get somebody else in as well to help you solve things. A lot of the time, it's not about the what when it comes to solving, it's about the who. Who can you bring in to help you solve this particular task? So if you are having trouble switching off, have a notepad next to you, get it out of your head, stick it on the paper. It's kind of like, I think Harry Potter was the one that did that. He was talking about at nighttime as well. So get it out of your head, stick it on the paper.
Oh, I love that. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry that's all the time we have for questions because I do want to get you guys out of here on time. I just want to kind of let you know that we've got Kim's details up here on the screen. If you need anything, you can also reach out to us at Pounce and the Pounce team. I'm more than happy to help you with anything that you might have. Other than that, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this session very insightful and you can take some takeaways home with you that you can kind of implement in your day-to-day life. And with that, I will let you all enjoy your day. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll talk to you all soon.